2026 is a whole reset year, not just for me, but I think for the industry as well. Being one of the newer cats in the industry, about a year and a half in the business, I get the privilege of really seeing what worked well for us in the past, what didn't work well, and then the new side of everything, which is the most fun part for me is really learning something new. The older part of it is just the buying and selling. The stuff that we really get down to is the humanistic aspect of it, the waiting game or the life changes, all that kind of stuff is really what I'm interested in, is getting to know the consumer, getting to know the people that I get to work with.
Yeah. And so what type of stresses or what kind of pain points have the clients or the consumers you've been working with, just in the last, 60, 90 days, what kind of pain points have you seen them get hung up on a little bit?
So rates are a huge thing. They really look at that six number, the six in front, and they freak out. Everyone wants it back to the 2023, the 4% that it's just not going to be.
Right.
And then you want to wait. It's the waiting game. I
Right.
have, if I can tell you, share a little story with you.
Please.
I have a client right now, and the sweetest family. I've known them since high school, and they wanted to wait until January, February, because no one wants to buy and sell during the holidays. That's a really stressful time, and generally the market starts to cool down. So what we spoke about was, well, let's get into the game and see what we can do for you, where we're at, and then see what our options are. So the biggest thing was they were scared to find out not only what they can afford, but what they couldn't. And looking around and saying, well, if the rates go down, maybe we could. The unfortunate part about that is then you have much more competition.
Right.
So with this collection that I'm sharing, these 8 to 10 houses that they have that they really, really fell in love with, 9 of them are pending.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 are
Wow.
pending or have been sold in the last 60 or 90 days. So San Diego is one of those kind of special markets where, it does slow down, but not as much as the rest of the country.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And yeah, it's a difficult conversation where, some clients that are maybe current homeowners who are sitting on a 2.5, 3.5% mortgage,
Yeah.
and they're trying to find a way to move to their next home because, I don't know, they had another child or their business is growing and they need more space to operate their home business, or maybe their commute's killing them. That was me one time. Their commute's killing them, and
Yeah.
you gotta find a more strategic home to live in. It's hard to step aside or walk away from that 2.5 rate.
Yeah. While you're on that 2.5 rate, and if I can just piggyback on that, I've got clients that are locked into that 2.5, 3% rate. And they just, I have a neighbor that's in a 3 bedroom and now he's got 4 kids and he starts to worry, well, I have this beautiful rate. Can I afford anything around here? For someone like you, what would you tell him?
So for someone like him, I would ask them to explore multiple solutions in efforts of affording to move up to their next property. So the first solution would be, and everything's dependent, every client's different. Some clients have more income or less, some clients have more personal debt, more or less. Some clients are single income households or dual. But I would explore first is keeping the house.
Right?
Let's explore keeping the house and that
Hmm.
rate, and maybe tapping into the equity of that current house with an equity line of credit. An equity line of credit may be large enough for a down payment on your next property.
Hmm.
And so that way, now they can move forward with their next property and get that additional bedroom for their family, but still at the same time, working towards a long-term plan and path towards, long-term wealth by maintaining that departing property as their rental.
Yeah.
The rental property has multiple income tax benefits compared to a primary home. So now you have two properties on your tax returns giving you income tax benefits.
Hmm.
The rental property, knock on wood, the tenant's paying the mortgage, right?
Yeah.
So by the time your newborn is of adult age, the real estate could fund that child's college. If they don't go to college, maybe it can help invest in that child's business ventures,
Yeah.
or maybe that's housing for your child, 20, 30 years from now. because inflation is so hard to keep up with these days. So
Yeah.
it could be a sacrifice or an investment into the long run if they can keep the property. Now, if they can't, and they got that 275, like what would that be? 2021, like 5 years ago.
That's when they got it.
So, a 5-year-old mortgage, that property has worked very well for them, and their equity position, knock on wood, is most likely very significant.
Hmm.
And so now, as they previously might have had a 20% down payment in 2021, as they sell that property, now they're probably walking with a 40% down payment,
Yeah.
thus giving them the better rates and a better mortgage on that new home. And those are some of the things that we're looking at. Some customers have a great low rate of 2.5, but might have multiple credit cards and automobile payments that are in the double-digit interest rate range.
Hmm.
And by selling the property and releasing yourself of that 2.5 rate, can now help you pay off that 20%, student loan or credit card or automobile balance.
Yeah.
Thus, when you buy the new house at 5.9 today,
Hmm.
giving you a lower whole house expense, not just mortgage expense, but your entire household's expense.
Hmm.
So, we have to think a little bit further than just interest rate to interest rate or mortgage payment to mortgage payment, but how is selling your current house and buying a bigger home at today's market rates, how can that help your whole family move forward in life?
Oh yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
and so those are things I look at, because and some customers, have been holding on to that 2.5% interest rate where they probably should have or traditionally would have refinanced 2 or 3 years after getting that loan.
Hmm.
And so and some of those customers' credit card balances have kind of crept up on them. So now their average rate of interest might, between the 20% credit cards and the 2% mortgage, their average rate of interest is like 14 or 15%, or
Yeah.
and so by selling and consolidating and moving to your next property, we can create your whole house average rate of interest and bring it down to the fives or sixes,
Yeah.
you know?
And to work with a lender like you that gets creative is the biggest benefit to any of our clients. In talking to a lot of our clients, I have mainly two different clients. One, it's a change of life, meaning kids are out of the house. They're about 65 to 70. The house is too big and they're looking to get a little extra cash to play around with.
Right,
And
right.
so that meaning downsizing. And then on the other side are the first time home buyers that got in right at that, like you were saying, the 2020, 2021, who have those, the first time homes. Most of the time, your first home isn't going to be your last. That's
Right.
not going to be your forever home, but it's a really good step, foot in the door. They're waiting for the rates to go down so they can hold on to that. So, with your ability and the ability of Origin Point to get creative is so beneficial, just not just for myself and Danielle as realtors, but for our clients as well. It's
Yeah.
it's been it's been a huge help.
Awesome.
So,
Well, glad to hear.
well, in a time where, like you said, inflation's crazy and the cost of living, especially in San Diego, one of the highest in the nation, is really, really beating us up. To have that ability of looking at different options when people don't think that they have options is a huge, huge benefit.
Let me ask you this. Have you talked to anybody about purchasing a property at today's interest rates before the surge?
Absolutely. Before we got on our call right now, I was looking at it and the way the surge works. So you're looking at time and you're also looking at the economy. So everyone wants to buy right around what time? March, April, May, getting in. You want your house moving in June, kids are out of school, stuff such as that. That's kind of cyclical. That's what we see often year to year. With the economy right now and inflation rates and everything, that adds another added, whether it be a stress or a pressure, or it could be a good thing for a buyer. It could be a great thing for a buyer because you have less competition, and
Right.
less competition means more options for you. And then on the opposite side, you're looking for the rates, you're looking for everything else in between. I always want to be ahead of the game. I think everyone does as well. to buy something early and to sell later on when things are up is kind of the the American dream. So when you're getting into that surge and when everyone understands, the best thing to do is to be proactive, to reach out to not only professionals like me, but you as well, Mike, that can really, really help lay out their options and show the benefit. I'm not going to sell you a house. I'm not going to have you buy a house if I think you're going to have to go upended in a year. We
Yeah.
want we want to make your life easier, not harder, especially in times like this.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you on that. What I recommend to people that are considering purchasing a property in 2026
Yeah.
is to get their pre-approval done early. If
Hmm.
that means early, if that's early means 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, it's okay. But if we can get you that pre-approval early, not only will you know what your qualifications are or what your goals will be for the next 6 months or so while
Hmm.
you prepare for your lease, for your current rental property's contract to expire, but it gives you the opportunity to strike when an opportunity presents itself,
Yeah.
you know?
Tell me if I'm wrong here. I'm with a gal yesterday. We're walking our dogs, and she's going through a life change. She's going through a divorce. She has two kids and currently renting a two-bedroom. Both kids, 8 and 11 years old. They don't want to share a bedroom.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
she's locked into her lease for another 10 months, and she's paying 5,200 in my neighborhood to
Wow.
rent.
Yeah,
And now I'm thinking 5,200 as a two-bedroom in my neighborhood. I mean, you're hemorrhaging money, and you're giving a guy that bought it in 2005, mind you, a lot of money.
right,
And
right,
and so what I urged her, instead of, and she doesn't want to break the lease, she's good friends with the landlord, so I respect that. But get it done early. Get that pre-approval out of the way. The BRBC is 90 days. All I have to do is update it. But the fact that we're able to look, to see, to find out your loves, your wants, but more importantly, your dislikes.
right.
I want to hear your neighborhoods, the houses, the colors, the everything that we can't just do in 1 month. So if you want to get out of your lease in June and be in the house in June, I would say start looking now and start being proactive now, finding out, one, call Mike Campos, figure out when and what I can get a pre-approved for, and then move forward proactively.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. So you've been working with some clients that are downsizing,
Hmm.
and then you're working with some current homeowners that are, having a tough time walking away from their current mortgage rate.
Yeah.
What other type of buyers have you been or sellers have you been working with lately?
You know, as sad as it sounds, it's a loss of life, and it's major changes, major
Yeah,
movements, whether that be divorce or someone passes away. I have a seller that lost his job, and
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not just any kind of job. It was a big job, and so he can't just go and apply for another one and make up that income. So what he has to do is get creative, and what I've kind of informed him on doing is just be realistic with your options. You have to figure out what you can do and what you can't do, because when your back's against the wall some of these times, it's not all sunshine in real estate. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And
Right.
it's I'm smiling now, but it's the humanistic aspect of our job. And we can crunch the numbers all you want and we're good at it. We're darn good at it. But the biggest thing for me is when people are going through these massive life changes, that I do the best possible for my clients. I want you to, one, get the most money out of your property if we're needing to sell, if we can't hold on to it. And then two, find your little place in this earth and find another spot for you to kind of nestle into. It's a tough, it's a tough position to be in, but when you're working with true professionals, it becomes a whole heck of a lot easier.
Have you been talking to any potential people that want to relocate from out of area into San Diego?
I haven't had Danielle, my partner, has have a few different ones that are coming in. I've heard a lot from Arizona, a few from Texas. It's pretty easy to leave San Diego, and
Yeah,
it's a little bit harder to come back.
right,
When you're paying Texas prices, it's harder to justify paying San Diego prices.
right.
With that, it's working, one, with the realtor, with the people that are out of state, And then two, managing expectations. It's hard showing houses when they're not there. So we have to be full transparency. And that's when we really, really make our dollar.
So, you're talking to some new buyers. They might be out of state, maybe out of county. What would be some of these? What would be some of the tips that you would, offer or present to those out of area, out of state buyers that want to relocate into San Diego?
Well, one is to figure out what they want, their wants, their needs. Are we looking for a larger house, depending on your income, depending on what you're pre-approved for? I mean, the house that you can buy in Carlsbad is much different than the house that you can buy in San Marcos. And for someone that hasn't lived here previously, those two different cities yield different results, and you get a lot of different things from both. My area expertise, being born and raised here, is really knowing the niche spots and some of the places that are kind of slept on.
Yeah.
I would have loved to sell a bunch of houses in San Marcos last 5-6 years, because now
Right.
look at where it's at. It's
Right.
incredible.
Yeah.
What I would inform our out of town buyers, our out of state buyers, is really link up with a professional that can help you out. If not me, someone else that's been around this city, been around the state for a very, very long time, and that can guide you into the way you want to go, because it's hard to shop when you're not wearing the suit.
So were you saying like San Marcos was like a sleeper for the last handful of years?
Oceanside as well, yeah. San
Yeah.
Marcos, you've got a few of them. Vistas coming up. Those spots, Fallbrook as well. I've got a lot of interest in Fallbrook right around Horse Creek Ranch. But San Marcos 20 years ago was a cow town.
Right.
I remember going over there in the cow shed right there off of Mulberry.
I remember that
You
spot.
know that spot? Absolutely. I mean, now those
Yeah.
houses are going for over $1 million. And
Right.
and you've got a lot of condos, a lot of townhouses right around there. It's a lot of young families, which is always great for real estate. You get to see kind of people moving up, and a lot of mobility, which is great, but it's the affordability that made it beautiful. A lot
Yeah,
of people
absolutely.
saw a lot of people that saw that you were close to the 78, they'd get worried. Well, I can't get to the beach. You can still get to the beach in less than 15 minutes. You got to
Right.
hit a few green lights. You might get lucky, but right there on Palomar Airport, you'll make it there in 15 minutes. And then the
Yep.
same thing with Bonsall and Temecula. You hit the 76 from Fallbrook all the way to Oceanside, it's about 22 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to give up a 15-minute commute to the beach, and if that's really where you want to be, you can get a whole heck of a lot more house in those inland areas.
Lake San Marcos was a sleeper for many, many years. They
Oh
had the
yeah.
Quails Inn and everything
Yeah.
was dark and kind of dungy. The Amalfi Restaurant Group brought
Yeah.
Lake San Marcos alive, and now they've expanded into Oceanside and Carmel Valley, and I don't even know where else the Amalfi Restaurant Group's at nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm with you though. Oceanside is one of those really great sleeper communities where there's a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of remodeled houses happening. It's
Yeah.
going up in value, and the great part is that like restaurant owners can actually afford to build out and start a business in Oceanside
Yeah.
compared to those higher premium rents that we see in Carmel Valley and San Diego. So we're
Oh
seeing
yeah.
this really big surge of dining and drinking in Oceanside right now.
Yeah. And they've increased the walkability just like San Marcos, and it's been really, really fun to see over the last decade.
Nice, nice.
No. And it
Well,
gives us a lot more options.
yep. So let me ask you,
Yeah.
are there any like tips that you want to share that have really worked well, like in one of your last transaction or two? Like,
Yeah.
please.
I mean, tips one, always be proactive. Always get ahead of the game. So, like you were saying, to your point, about 6 months out, if you're willing to entrust us into the buying process, get it started. Don't wait, because if you give us a month, most of the time, a lot of those houses that you fall in love with, a lot of those houses that you see online, they might be snatched up. San Diego isn't really the same as Texas, as Oklahoma, as Arizona. We have buyers from everywhere, and people want a piece of dirt where we live, and they're willing to sacrifice a little bit of space just to have that opportunity, and then to be able, like you said, to move up forward. So being proactive, getting ahead of the game is my number one thing. I want you to be able to talk, if not with me, to a realtor, to a real estate specialist, and also to a lender like you to figure out what you can afford. Figure out
Yeah.
where you stand in this world, what you can do and what you can't do, because your limitations are going to set you. But with people like you and I, there's a lot of creative ways that we can help out our clients, help out our people to get them to where they want to be. To be realistic, I can't tell you enough about how many people, they see this gorgeous house and they see these gorgeous fix, and you already know you're 500,000 over budget. And there's some things that I can do, but that's a hard ask, is talking them down that much. So being realistic in your price, especially as a seller, the worst thing that you can do for your home is let it sit. Anything over 60 days, you're going to start looking at a stagnant release. You're going to look at a stagnant open houses. You're not going to see a lot of stuff. So when you price it, and one of the great tools that we have here at Compass is private exclusives. So
Right.
I can test out that market. I can test out between a bunch of real estate professionals that can help me figure out how much it might be worth, what it could be going for. And then, if everything goes according to plan, which it always does in real estate, it could sell off market. And that's with all the good stuff. Third thing, I'd say, I'd want you to really figure out what you like, and more importantly, what you don't like in your area, with the house, with everything. And especially with young families looking at good school districts and places that you want to go, is to do your own due diligence. Myself as a professional, I know the ins and outs of this city, ins and outs of the county, but I want you to really get involved and kind of see what feels like home. When you walk out your front door and you smell that air, do you have a good feeling in your lungs? Or is it something that you kind of just walk to your car and go about your day?
You definitely want to know those things up front.
No,
I think it'll help us provide the best service possible to them.
absolutely.
And at the end of the day, we're always working at their pace,
Hmm.
So tell me a little bit about this Compass private exclusive.
Yeah.
This isn't something I can just go online and look for stuff on my own.
No, sir. No. So today, right now, we've got in San Diego County 331 private exclusives going on. That's 331 houses that you can't see on Zillow, that you can't see anywhere else other than with a Compass agent. So what that allows us to do, not just in our county, but not just in our region, in the nation, is see houses, see properties before they hit the market. That really allows us to, one, get our foot in the door, which is the biggest thing, and two, understand where the real estate professionals are thinking the housing prices are going to go. And it's great to pick the brains of the people that know it well. This is just one of the tools that Compass can use, and it really, really sets us above.
Nice, nice.
Now,
So, if I was, I'm going to ask you two questions here, okay? So if I was
yeah,
a
I like it.
seller, if
Uh-huh.
I was a seller,
Yeah.
what's in it for me as a seller to work with you and put my property on the market with Compass private exclusive first?
Well, Mike, we have a good saying, if you're explaining, you're losing. So I hate to explain my value, but I can tell you right now that Compass, one of the largest brokers in the world right now, has a lot of tools, whether it be our Compass Concierge, where we can offer you money to borrow for paint, for staging, for other things that you may need in this process, because there's a lot of money moving when you're buying and selling a house. Compass Concierge allows us to lend you cheap money so you can get that, which will add value to your house. So it's basically giving you free money to make your house look pretty so we can sell it for more. I
Nice.
love Concierge with that. Compass exclusive, probably the one that made us real popular with everyone except for Zillow, is my favorite one. So we're able to show you the houses, like I said earlier, and list your property before it ever hits market. Because once you sit on market, you see day one, day two, day
Oh,
three,
days
four,
on
five,
market, right?
30, 50, 60, 70. What's wrong with it? 80. Oh my gosh, it's priced way too high. 90. Don't even look at it. Now
Right.
we have the ability to really test the market. I have one that's been on private exclusive for 6 months and they're still making changes. It's one out in Del Dios, which is a beautiful property, but needs some fixing up. And so we just tested the price. We've adjusted it a couple times. We like where it's at, and we're getting ready to list it. And I know you know that
Nice.
property as well.
Yeah.
It's really, really exciting to be able to basically, it's as if I'm doing tricks into a foam pit. So I'm learning how to skateboard. I'm doing my tricks into a foam pit. There's no repercussions. I'm landing in foam, but I really get to figure out where I stand.
Understood.
Man.
Right on, man. Right on. And tricks in a foam pit, like I think we get your vibe, man. I think we get your vibe.
Oh yeah. That's a Southern California boy in me.
That's right. That's right.
Oh yeah. Don't make me
Awesome,
do it now
man.
though.
What else do you want to talk about? Anything that kind of top of mind or you thought about maybe talking about before we get jumped on?
What we talked about earlier was the urgency, and I think a lot of people are on the fence. One, with what's going on in the economy; two, what's going on in the White House; three, what's going on in politics; four, what's going on with inflation. And so people are seeing a lot of different areas that concern them. The problem with the market here in San Diego is that it really doesn't fluctuate too terribly much. People are always willing to buy and sell here, and there's always someone looking.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
desirable place. So what I'd urge a lot of people to do before we hit those summer months where it's buy, 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 sell, sell, sell,
Yeah,
and this January, February moment is to take a second, think about what you want, think about what you really, really need in this life, and do you want to rush this? Because to rush any kind of process is to feel uncomfortable.
right.
So if you give yourself that extra month, that extra 2 months of padding to really get to know what you like and don't like, it's so beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that. Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable. Uncomfortable creates stress too, and a buyer or a seller is
Mhm.
moving a lot of money. I
Yeah.
mean, it's basically their whole life savings in many, many cases.
Oh yeah.
And their net worth, or their total value, their future value, their kids' net worth.
Hmm.
So that uncomfortability creates a lot of stress. And so what we like to do on the lending side is remove as many things as possible from the equation to reduce stress.
Yeah.
Get things done as early and upfront as possible to remove that stress as well.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of that stress is the unknown. What if we don't sell for that price? What if we, find something more expensive or less expensive? What if my job isn't enough? My income's not enough to make this happen?
Hmm.
All of those types of factors, add to stress and uncomfortability. And because of that, a lot of people just simply don't move forward. So, as we talked about, I like our clients to apply early as if they were buying today. And even if they're not buying for 6 months or 4 months or 10 months, apply early as if they were buying today and give us an honest test drive. Let us help you narrow down what your budget is. If you want to move up and you think your budget's between 1.2 million and 1.9 million, well, let's really figure that out. Maybe your budget's between 1.2 million and 1.6 million.
Hmm.
Let's narrow down your search so that
Yeah.
way you're searching for the right priced properties, and so you don't feel like you're underqualified or underprepared. And let's help you know your numbers. As we get you pre-approved today off of today's market rates, we'll share with you what the potential rate will be, in 3 months or 4 months from now,
Hmm.
to help ensure that you're comfortable with the payment then, right? So if we think that rates are going to come down from 5.9 to 5.5, well, let's get you pre-approved for both rates,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
as we're running the numbers, and you might see that the payment difference between 5.9 and 5.3, depending on your loan size, could be a couple $100 a month,
Hmm.
or it could be $800 a month, right?
Yeah.
Depending on your loan size. And that $200 a month might get smaller if the $1 million property today turns into $1,050,000 or $1,001,000 6 months
Yeah.
from now.
Which
So
is easy to do.
easy to do. So let's analyze. Let's analyze not only what you qualify for today, what you'll qualify for tomorrow, but
Hmm.
let's analyze the cost of waiting to buy as well.
Yeah.
And so as all this information is put on our clients' dining table, we're simply just empowering them to help themselves make a good decision. And whether that changes their mind or not, we did our part, and that's at the end of the day all we can do.
Yeah, and that's all we want to do is get you into something where you're comfortable, where if any crazy stage of life thing happens, you're not worried about losing that house. And
Right.
that's really, really narrowing down that numbers, because that 1.2 to 1.9, that it can get a little gray in that area. That's
It can.
$700,000. Yeah. And so if you really get it to that 1.2 to 1.4, and this is 6 months, 7 months before we have to really hit the ground running, it's so, so much better to have that. I think it's just that peace of mind. It's that feeling that you're set up, you know exactly what you're going into. You're
You
ready for
know
the
where you're
fire.
going.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
ready for the firefight, and you've got preserves if you need anything. It's the worst feeling in the world as a realtor to see a house that you sold a year or two go up, and it's a quick sell.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's something that we never want to happen. That's
Yeah.
something that we will always try to avoid, and that's something that comes with, one, being an expert in our region, and two, knowing where our clients are coming from, which is the biggest thing. It's your idea, not ours.
Right. Right. Totally.
Yeah.
That makes
And,
sense.
I talked to a guy the other day. My Lexus broke down, and I've had that car. I got it for my wife years and years ago. Great family car. It finally broke down. Not putting any more money into it. We let it go. I go up to the sales guy, and I'm sitting there. It's December 14th. They've got all their deals. They've got all this stuff. It's Happy Lexus Day, whatever you want to call it. The big red bows are out. So creating urgency, right? And that's kind of like our summer months for them. But if I were to wait, and if I were to get something later, because I don't want to do it, I'm strapped for cash over December buying all the kids' gifts, I would have had to spend another about $500 a month on my car if I
Wow.
were just to wait. But what I did was I did my own due diligence. I looked up, and then I also talked with the professionals over there in Car Country Carlsbad, and I followed their advice with my little bit of research that I did, and I got in at a much better rate to where I would be right now. If I went to go car shopping right now, I'd be spending about $400 more a month. And
Wow. Wow.
and so that really resonated with me while I was talking with this kid who's 10 years my younger. It definitely helped me getting into it before than waiting a month, costing me thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good comparison for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey man, thank you.
Thank you, dude. I love you. I love seeing The Office.